Elevation Nation, we're back for another episode with an absolutely elevated elevator. This is a couple years in the running to make this happen. Max Schauff, the co-founder of LineLeap, also minority owner of the Green Bay Packers. I saw that on your LinkedIn, Max. I love that too. Great highlight there. Sam and I are pumped to welcome you to Elevation Nation, Max. What is going on, brother?
How's it going, guys? Yeah, super excited to be here today. Obviously, I've been following you guys for quite some time, so it's awesome to finally jump on.
Well, Max, we are hyped to have you. I'm excited to finally meet you. You may not know this, and I'll embarrass Parker here for a minute. You've been a huge mentor in Parker's life and certainly inspired his entrepreneurial journey and therefore our entrepreneurial journey. So I want to thank you for kind of showing Parker that entrepreneurship was an option. Literally, we would not have Elevation Nation without the path of him working with you and learning from you and now us getting here. So thank you for giving me my co-founder. I'm excited to finally meet you.
That's such a good point. We'll talk about that in a bit. But Max, what's going on, man? We start every episode with the elevator pitch.
Yep.
Off the bat, tell us who you are.
Yeah. So my name is Max. I'm one of the co-founders of LineLeap. So I started it back in 2017 as a sophomore at University of Wisconsin. The early days were filled with a lot of car rides, campus to campus, and a lot of being told no, which I'm sure we'll get into in this episode. But fast forward about 7 years now, LineLeap is in more than 400 bars across 100 different campuses and cities. Our team is 40 people full-time now. We almost have 1 million people on the app. So it's been a ton of fun to work on, lots of ups and downs throughout it. Entrepreneur at heart, love talking, nowadays helping out other entrepreneurs going through kind of their struggles and their different phases. But it's definitely a brotherhood. So Parker, it's awesome to hear, how maybe our journey has inspired you guys and vice versa, your journey to mine. So yeah, super happy to be here and talk more about the journey.
We are hyped to have you. You were spot on, Max, that I think there is this brotherhood and sisterhood of entrepreneurship. When I meet someone that started their own thing, whether you've gone full time on it, whether you're just getting it off the ground, whether you have the itch, you're reading the books that I've read, self-improvement, whatever it may be, there's almost this weird vibe that you get from them. And it's this mutual respect for the struggle. Because I think a lot of times people hear, oh, Sam and Parker, they started this business on the side. They're running it on EY. People think we do it full time. It must be great. They look how nice their new microphones are. And I'm sure Max with you. Oh, Max is minority owner of the Green Bay Packers now and, co-founder of LineLeap. And they see this life, I think, because of social media that everything is good. And Parker and I, like to be honest, everything is not always good. Entrepreneurship is extremely difficult. It's extremely lonely, and that's why we love having these conversations. So I want to kind of rewind a bit, Max, in your story. Obviously, we know, and many people might know, about the inspiration behind LineLeap, but I would love for you to share that because I think it shows a lot of, problem solving and innovation when you hear where the idea truly stemmed from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like all good ideas, they stem from a personal problem, right, that you're trying to solve. So even to back up a little bit more, me and Patrick, one of my partners, we got started with a previous startup, Envoy Now, food delivery company on college campuses. It's how I found Parker. He was one of our campus managers at Maryland and helped us get off the ground there. So that's where it's kind of come full circle. But that really gave us kind of like our startup itch, right? That was our first opportunity as freshmen in college to get our hands dirty and learn what it takes to, grow a startup from campus to campus, hire delivery drivers, hire campus managers, manage those campus managers, talk to restaurants, like the full gamut of it. And we just fully caught the startup bug and just fell in love with it. So, we spent 1.5 years on that. Obviously, as we turned 21 and started, participating in the bar scene a little bit, especially at Wisconsin, and Patrick and Nick, my partners at Michigan, good bar schools, right? So big bar scenes, big party schools. there's long lines at the bars, and we started to run into more and more of that, and kind of notice that as a trend and really like a problem that didn't have a good solution, right? You could know the door staff, you could have the guts to walk up to the door staff and maybe slip them some money and either get embarrassed because it's not enough or whatever the case is. So we knew there just had to be a better system. So we worked on the food delivery company for about a year and a half. That got acquired by a larger company. You know, instead of kind of moving on in that journey, we wanted to really just kind of go out on our own and try this idea we had for skipping the lines. So kind of long story short, it was a personal problem we were trying to solve. Really, we wanted to take the most kind of simple attack at it, right? And just see if this idea could even work, if people would like it, before we spent too much time, effort, money, all that good stuff in it. So we were fortunate enough, a bar in Madison on the iconic State Street, Whiskey Jack's, decided to give us a shot. And we built a super simple website to kind of get off the ground. Launched on a -5-degree night in February. Fun fact, Parker, I don't know if you know this one, but we took the email list we had from Envoy, and we actually had a which I won't out him, but he was a president of a club at Wisconsin and had the full like 40,000 person email list at Wisconsin. So we emailed that entire list, $1 beers at Whiskey Jack's tomorrow night, right? Because there was this like Thursday special they had that was crazy, or 25-cent beer actually. So a 25-cent beer at Whiskey Jack's tomorrow night. Our whole idea was let's just bring a massive crowd, and then we'll be there with LineLeap, and we'll launch it right then and there. So we send out this email. I'm in class the next day. I'm sitting there, and I just hear people all around me talking. Did you see that deal at Whiskey Jack's? Did you see that 25-cent beer deal at Whiskey Jack's? So I'm like, holy shit, this could be crazy. On top of that, -5-degree night, so people are not dressed appropriately. You know, we get there, the line is bananas. We literally, within a couple minutes of having a couple people skip the line, had just a mosh pit around us, just handing us their phone and credit card and saying, just get me in. Just get me in. Whatever it costs, get me in. So that was our first night. And after that, we're like, okay, maybe we have something here.
I mean, you guys literally like hacked the system in a sense. Like you figured out a way around something to get that email list. And you came up with a great idea. Hey, let's email all these people an incredible promo on a cold night. Boom. Best way to get it into the bar, buy a LineLeap ticket. And that's incredible. I'm really curious, Max, like what was that first conversation to Whiskey Jack's? Like what was the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, the pitch originally is, hey, you know, this can be an extra revenue stream for you, right? Whereas you might be losing some money at the door or not getting it at all. In general, it's going in the wrong pockets, or it's not known as well, or it's not that like welcoming to everybody, right? Again, it takes like a special type of person and guts to walk up to a door staff and try to go through that interaction. So this was kind of like an idea that's just open anyone. The sign is out there. People know about it. If you want to spend the money, you totally can. People can use it on their birthday, game day, whatever's important to them, right? Everyone's kind of got their special nights. So that was the pitch. And we'll get into it, but we got told no a lot. As fun of a, you know, launching story that was, you know, it was 3 or 4 years followed by thousands of no's, and taking those all on the chin. So we got super fortunate that Whiskey Jack's gave us that chance, and obviously the stars aligned, and it was an awesome night. But it wasn't always that easy, and it wasn't always that straightforward.
Well, I'm looking forward to, personally, a night where Parker, Max, and Sam can all go to Whiskey Jack's and participate in some of those. Maybe it's $1 beer now instead of 25-cent, but it sounds like a great event. I think we'd have a good time together.
100%.
That would be.
100%.
I've never been to Madison, so I mean that sounds incredible. We get a Terps game over there.
There you go.
You know, cold Madison. I feel like Wisconsin's got our number here and there, but I feel like Terps are making a turn. I don't know. So. You say you got a lot of no's along the way. I remember the videos of you guys driving that van or that truck, whatever it was, across the country during the summer on a road trip, trying to literally sell LineLeap to all these bars. Obviously, that took many years to get to where you are today and a lot of no's. Let's talk about a lot of those no's and how they came about and how you guys continue to press on the idea of LineLeap even though so many people were like, get out of our face.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it was the timely yeses that helped us move along, right? But that is what, I pride our entire team on, but obviously in the early days, me, Patrick, Nick, where, again, we were in school, right? We started this our sophomore year. So we were in school, and we had to find the time to go hit the road and try to sign on these bars. Obviously, we could tackle Wisconsin and Michigan while we were, taking classes, but we would spend our summers just going campus to campus, right? And we didn't have any money, so we would sleep in shitty motels. We'd sleep in our car on some nights. We'd do whatever it takes. But yeah, we got told no time and time again. And I think it was our attitude around it that really helped us keep going. Because it can get lonely. I mean, we would split it. Sometimes we'd go together. Sometimes we'd split up. And if you're in down south for 2 weeks, going through SEC country, getting told no and I remember staying at motels where I had cockroaches in them and stuff like that. It gets to be, it wears on you a little bit, but I think it's, it's how we went about it and just taking it on the chin and almost laughing about it. We'd be like, all right, well, we'll see you in 3 weeks, right? And we would go next door. We would try their neighbor, right? And then you get a couple timely yeses. Here and there, we'd, get their competitor to say yes, right? Well, we'd start making the competitor money. Then we'd come back to that bar that told us no and say, look what, bar B is making down the street. So we were able to just kind of layer in those timely yeses. We got lucky on a few and fortunate on a few. One of them being Champs in Penn State, who is our number one bar to this day. But they kind of paved the way too. They gave us a chance. They have done astronomical numbers that we've been able to kind of relay and help, again, kind of layer in more and more. But I have bar owners that I'm good friends with nowadays. One in Madison who told me no, I think like 5 or 6 times, and now fast forward to today, he's one of our top customers, and we're good friends. So it's funny how it works out, but it definitely is just kind of that resilience and just laughing it off and being like, it's not personal. Don't take it personal. Move on to the next bar. We're going to keep chipping away at this, and just over time, we would build some wins. We would take that momentum. Momentum's super powerful. So if you can take that momentum and build it into a couple more wins and just kind of keep that snowball effect going, that's what it's all about.
I mean, it's incredible to hear your guys' story of how really you went through some serious adversity to get it off the ground. And I think every entrepreneur goes through that. That's the hard part. And I'll tell you, obviously, Max, a little bit different. Our story, it was COVID. I didn't have to go to motels, but I did have to sleep in my childhood twin bed for 6 months, right? And that's when we built our business in a different way of hearing no's. It wasn't no's from companies that were, wanting to be our clients. It was me telling Parker no, and like, no way we do this. How the hell are we going to figure this out? This isn't even a business yet. What are we building? What are we doing? Every single time when we hit a roadblock, me telling Parker, can we just make t-shirts instead? Like, at least I know we have a physical product. Like, we're making a podcast. We're like, what are we doing here? And so I think whether it's a no from a client or a no internally between you and your founders, entrepreneurship is about running up to those no's and being able to push through. And I think what helps across the board with that every single entrepreneur we've spoken to has, and every single elevator has, is something that we call mental fortitude. And I really think that was the missing piece that I didn't get taught as a kid in high school or in college, but I'm so grateful that I've learned it now. And that's what Parker and I are on a mission to really share with the world. And for us, mental fortitude is 3 parts. It's self-awareness, knowing who you are, your vision of where you want to go, and what fuels you, what truly drives you at the end of the day. And I think there is no better teacher of mental fortitude than entrepreneurship, because you do those 3 things every freaking day. Every day I wake up and go, who am I? Like, what am I good at today? Because you wear 1,000 hats. And vision, what are we going to work on next? I could literally take this company in 20 different directions, but it's up to me and Parker to make the call. And then what fuels you? Is it money that's going to be the driver today? Is it connections? Is it knowledge? Is it potential opportunity? You always have something else that fuels you. And so I'm really inspired by your story, because I think you guys exuded a ton of mental fortitude in all of your journeys to getting LineLeap off the ground.
Yeah, 100%. And I think What I always like to say too is like you can't win and you can't score if you're not in the game. And one thing that I commend you guys on, and obviously, me, Patrick, Nick, and the team we've built, is that we've always stayed in the game, right? No matter how many no's, no matter how hard it gets. We had to go through COVID where all of our bars closed down. Like, we just stayed in the game. We've kept at it. We've kept going. And if you stay in the game, you give yourself a chance to get lucky. You give yourself a chance to win. If you quit, if you exit, then there's zero chance at it. So that's what I've loved following you guys about too, is just how you've stuck at it over the last 4 years too, and just chipped away and again built off your wins and successes, and that's going to compound into something beautiful.
It really is amazing to think about. I mean, Sam, our journey the last 4.5 years, and Max, I'm sure you reflect on your journey with LineLeap now. You're going on year 8 at this point. It's like you have those moments where those wins are so amazing and they're so great. It's like, wow, we signed this new bar. This is amazing. This is the best bar in Penn State. Where Sam and I is like, wow, we just landed a keynote speaking gig at a conference. We're like, this is amazing. This is great. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, wow, now we got to go execute it. And then you go do it and it's great, right? It's working. Things are going well. But then you realize, wow, I got to go again. I got to get the next bar. I got to get the next speaking gig. And it almost never stops. So I'm really curious from your perspective in signing, over 400 bars, what is the thing that keeps you guys going to continue to get those monumental wins?
Yeah, well, I mean, you phrased it perfectly too. Like, I think two things that are kind of key. I've spoke on momentum a little bit, but also celebrating wins. And those are literally two of kind of our company values. Is momentum is key. Grab it, harness everything you can from it, and use it to your advantage. The other one is celebrate the wins. So, we have in our company communication, we have a cheers channel, right? Where whenever you feel like someone deserves a shout out, you give them that shout out. And everybody kind of celebrates it. We have a channel where whenever we sign a bar, it gets posted. Everyone in the company is reacting to it and celebrating that win, because it just builds that momentum. It builds that confidence. It builds that camaraderie, and it kind of just fuels everything we do. But yeah, I think what keeps us going is just that there's always another level to it, right? There's always another thing we're shooting for. We always feel like we're just barely scratching the surface, and we truly, truly feel that way. And we're trying to build something much, much bigger than what we have now. And I think that's what we're always striving for. And in terms of like bars even, right, there's still holdouts. There's still bars that are telling us no and have been telling us no for 8 years. I want nothing more than to get them to switch and finally agree to it. So that's like what we're kind of always shooting for. And you're never going to reach kind of that pinnacle. And there's always something more. And there's a new feature we're trying, a new angle we're looking at, a new way to make money for ourselves or the bars or our partnered brands or whatever the case may be. So it's just kind of always something. And each day is new. And yes, it's important to celebrate the wins, but then it's, all right, clap it up and then right on to the next, right? Let's use that and keep it rolling.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, Max, and get a little introspective. I know you just met me, so I hope it's okay. But something I've noticed that I've struggled with personally, and I don't have a solution for, but I've noticed this across all our elevators, is they have this it factor that you guys just described, which was, in my mind, it's a little bit of never being satisfied. You always want to elevate to the next level. There's always a little bit better that you can be, whether that's your business, relationships, personal life, financially. There's always another goal that you can set. And you just described it to a T of, there are more bars always for me to get. There's more accomplishments for us to achieve. So my question for you, Max, is do you think that this is a blessing or do you feel like it is a curse? Because I've struggled with knowing which one it is for me personally.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a blessing, right? I think I always look at myself as extremely lucky. When we first started this, we thought, man, it'd be cool to work on this full time someday, right? And that was our only goal. We didn't care how much money we'd make, whatever. We just wanted to do this full time and have the ability to work on our own business and work with two of my best friends, right? Like that's all it was. And then when we achieved that and we went through Y Combinator and raised some money and got to go full time right after graduation, we're like, okay, screw that goal. Now let's create a massive company, right? Let's create $1 billion company. So I think I look at it as a blessing. It's obviously, it's not for everyone. It can be very stressful at times. It can be very lonely at times. But that's where having Patrick and Nick and my partners and an awesome team and awesome investors and supporters and advisors, that all helps a lot. But without a doubt, I feel like it's a blessing to be able to do this. And we have a ton of fun doing it. I'm not gonna lie. We have so much fun. We get to work on it with each other. And fun fact, Patrick, Nick, and I still live together, so we literally live and breathe this 24/7, and we love it.
That's a great transition into the next question because literally you read my mind. So you're building this business, and it's become literally your life, right? Because you started it from a baby, you grew it, and now it's becoming bigger and bigger. You have 40 employees, you're at 400 bars, you have over 1 million users on your app. You live with your co-founders. So how do you give yourself the time and place to be Max? Max the person, not Max the co-founder of LineLeap.
Yeah, that's a good question, probably a deep one that maybe I haven't thought about too much. I think we're lucky. We have like literally a real life friend situation going on where it's me, Patrick, and Nick, Patrick's fiance, and my fiance all in the same apartment. So it is fun, it's hilarious, and it's really good though. We obviously have them as as a support staff, and they tell us to shut up every now and then and like, hey, can you guys drop it for 2 seconds? I think they also have like a timer that they usually have when we're in the living room, like, all right, how long until they start talking about work? But it's awesome to have them. I think, it does define quite a bit of what we do in our everyday life. We try to get out, we try to do some activities. We're on the road a lot, which kind of separates us a little bit at times to get that breathing room, although the road is usually work related. But for me, it's working out. I try to work out as much as I can to have that breather and throw around some weights and let out some stress and steam. I'd like to do more activities than I'm capable of. But no, in the nature of the startup, there's always something. There's always someone pinging you. There's always something to do. There's always a problem and a fire to put out. So by nature, it is relentless. But we're lucky to be able to go through it together and again, have fun doing it, laugh about the things, work through the problems together. We're extremely fortunate in that sense.
So I have to tell you, Parker and I are very similar. We don't live together, but we made, I was Parker's co-best man for his wedding along with Miles. And essentially our entire speech was about Elevation Nation. And I made the joke of, I'm so glad everyone else in their speeches mentioned Elevation Nation because we essentially sponsored this wedding and this is free publicity for us. And I think, it's great that you guys have that opportunity to really live and breathe what you love to do, because entrepreneurship is very different than a 9-to-5. Many people want to come home and disconnect from their realities of work because they don't love it. I could talk about Elevation Nation with Parker every single day. In fact, I do every single day. And we've had to work on our friendship to make sure we still have time to be friends because we have just so much passion for the success of this and trying to help it grow. And so that kind of goes back to, is it a blessing or a curse? It's certainly a blessing that I feel this way about it. I'm sure our friendship is cursed and Parker's beautiful wife is probably cursing me sometimes, but we make it work. And I think that's what's beautiful about entrepreneurship with your friends.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I think we're so lucky. And I've seen, I've seen so many startups. I've talked to so many startups. I've seen ones that, the co-founders get along great. I've seen it not so much. And I think, we're super fortunate. we, of course, there's times where we argue, we fight, we don't agree, but we always try to move past that as quickly as we can. Never gets personal, leave that in the past. And it's worked out for us super well so far. I think this is going on year 5 of living together. So we've had so much fun. We've gotten to travel the country together, share too many hotel beds probably with one another, but we know literally everything about one another. And, it's been an absolute joy. Sounds good.
That's incredible. I think it's amazing. I can't imagine how many stories you guys have. Just stories and stories and stories. Just like you guys. I'm waiting for the book one day. The book's inevitable, I feel like, at some point. But what's next for LineLeap? Like, where are you guys going? You're at 400 bars across the country. You got 1 million users on the app. Like, you guys are absolutely crushed. I know you just raised some money. What's next for LineLeap?
Yeah, I mean, next is hopefully just kind of hyper growth, right? I think we have an awesome team, and we've been building that team over especially the last couple of years. But they make it all possible, and really kind of just the overall work ethic and stuff just makes this doable. But yeah, I think we got some new features in the pipeline, right? Our bread and butter is the line skip pass to skip the line and get to the bars, but we do events. We throw world record bar crawls in some of these college campuses. We had a 9,000 person crawl at Iowa this past spring. We do event ticketing, we do mobile cover fee, we do drink ordering now a little bit, so you can not only skip the line to get in the bar, but the idea is to skip the line at the bar too to get your drinks faster. So some of that we've incorporated, almost like a BeReal style social feed feature, rewards for bars. We're working with alcohol sponsors now. So kind of a lot of stuff that we're trying to really kind of just revolutionize in the nightlife industry and bar industry especially, but kind of extend that out too, doing a little bit more with stadiums and festivals and things of that nature. So the possibilities are endless. Our motto is fun faster. That's the motto of LineLeap. So kind of everything we do is aimed at getting customers to the fun events faster, right? Their most memorable events with their best friends and family, and we want to be surrounded by all of that and help kind of cater that and fuel that. So that's what we're after, and there's a lot in the pipeline and a lot more to be achieved for sure.
We're excited to watch you guys continue to grow. It's really incredible to see how far you've come, and then to hear about the plans for the future. It's certainly exciting, and again, you're an elevator, so there's always more to do. I want to, Max, now move us into our rapid fire segment where Parker and I throw random questions at you that you haven't prepped for. So I hope you're ready. We have some good ones for you. You've certainly traveled around the country, going to your fair share of college campuses. Parker and I are very biased. But besides Madison, what is your favorite college campus that you visited?
That is a really good question. I have been to Maryland a handful of times. I do like it a lot. The Cornerstone, Terrapin's Turf, all very good bars there. So it's a fun time for sure. I would say outside of Madison, which is the greatest college campus in the world, you can't beat it with the Capitol building, State Street, the lakes, the bars, the sports, the academics. You can't beat it. But outside of that, I'd say Penn State. It's a fun campus to be at. It is in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and it's just this massive university plopped in the middle of cornfields. Football, obviously, in sports in general, are very good there. Again, for me, the bar scene is what I really care about. So it's an awesome bar scene. Champs is one of the best bars in the country, but there's so many bars there we love going to. So I'd say Penn State is probably my answer.
I think a lot of the elevators would they like to hear that answer, Max. We have a lot of Penn Staters in the nation. I think there's more Penn Staters now than Terps. So, Sam, we have to do our work and get more Terps than people from Penn State. But I like it. I've never been. Hopefully one day. Okay, next one. We're going to get a little deeper here. What's one lesson from a mentor that has stuck with you throughout your journey with LineLeap?
Well, that is a good one. One lesson. I mean, I think overarching, just the people we've surrounded ourselves with, our advisors, some of our investors, things like that. I think what we've been really lucky with is just that they're masters at what they do. They've perfected their industry. We have people that have built billion-dollar companies as advisors and board members. We have an NHL player that has like the third most NHL games played in history. We have some world-renowned DJs. We have the owner of the Patriots. So kind of all these people, just being able to watch what they do and surround yourselves with people that are just great and have literally reached kind of the pinnacle of what they do. You can learn a lot from that, and just picking their brain and how do they go about it? How do they prepare for a game? How do they prepare for a set? How do they handle all the, these DJs? How do they handle the travel, right? Like kind of all of that. And you're able to just pick and kind of choose all the things that make them great. One of the reasons why I just love watching sports in general is like, I'll watch it for just the post-game interviews, because I'm just addicted to hearing like their story, their passion, how they've gotten there. And it's something that is just inspiring 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, you've got some pretty good mentors. We might need to tap into that Rolodex one day. We'll bribe you, don't worry.
Sure.
All right, Max, my question is, you entered into a business that essentially is around nightlife. And we talked with your friend and fellow elevator, Jesse Rosen, about this a little bit, with Rose Gold being in nightlife and now us being a little bit older and, as I like to say, a bit washed up. How are you still managing the fact that you are in the bar and restaurant scene? That's obviously a world that's done at night. So my question specifically is, what time do you normally go to bed if you aren't on the road? And what time is your bedtime when you are on the road having to do your schmoozing at night with everybody?
All great questions. I think this was like a super fun company to start as a 21-year-old, right? And then now being 28, yeah, definitely feel a little washed up. But I think what's been fun in that transition is now I've become a lot closer to the owners and the GMs. And now when I go to a campus, which I still do a bunch of times, it's more to shake hands and hang out with the GM and owner. So you can find me in like the back private bar, just watching the football game instead, having a beer. I could pass on the dance floor nowadays. But it's still, it's still super fun to visit all these campuses and see it in action. I think, a lot of our team is younger in that front that kind of does the work out front and talking to the customers and all that good stuff. But no, it's been fun to kind of develop these relationships over the past few years, especially with the owners and GMs, and really see like the impact that we're having on their business. I think that's what, going back to like what fuels me too, is like seeing how it impacts others and how it impacts their business and their livelihood. That's what drives me, right? If they're happy, then that helps us. I think there's a quote I heard from the Trek Bicycle president a few weeks ago, and it was, to paraphrase, like, if we help our partners succeed, we will earn their business. So if we help our venues succeed and do well, that in turn is going to help us do well. And I think that's like one of the most fun things about the job. But yeah, in terms of sleep and travel, it goes in waves. In the nature of our business, we're partnered with a lot of colleges. We're starting to branch off into, much of the major cities and whatnot, but it's still college focused. So football season, spring graduation, stuff like that is our busy time. So I'm usually finding myself up, especially on the weekends, like 2 a.m. at the earliest, just making sure, again, things aren't lighting on fire. That can be from the comfort of my home, but I'm still usually awake and paranoid and making sure everything's running smoothly and maximizing all the stuff and putting out fires and all that good stuff. And again, an awesome team now that's taking off a lot of that kind of worry and that workload, but it's hard to fully give up. So that in turn then makes the weekdays a little tough to fall asleep anytime before 1, but we're getting better at it.
I very jealous of, not jealous of you waking up at 2 a.m. I'm very jealous of you going to more college campuses, because there is just an energy that you get. It's unique in college campuses, especially during basketball and football season. there's something in the air that you just can't replicate anywhere else in the world besides being on a big time campus with the energy of young people, the energy of alumni, and it just feels good. So I'm very jealous of that.
It's an addicting feeling. I mean, anytime when we get to roll into a college campus on a Friday afternoon before a big game day weekend, big matchup, it is like you can just feel it in the air. You can smell it. It's just, it's so hard to describe, but it is unlike anything else.
It's incredible. All right, last rapid fire, and then we'll move into the last question of the podcast. We do ask every elevator. I got some books on my shelf here. I've bought a lot of books over the years of Elevation Nation from this question. What is your go-to book recommendation for Elevation Nation?
That's a really good one. I love, again, in the interest of like, why do I love watching sports and surround yourself with people that are great at what they do. I love just books of biographies about their stories, right? The classic Elon Musk's and Steve Jobs books. It's easy to find inspiration from those. But I think one that I read recently and I've been really hooked on, especially being in kind of the nightlife space, but it kind of carries beyond just that too, is a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. And it's a really good one. It's about it was a Michelin star restaurant in New York and kind of how they ran it, and it's an awesome one. So definitely highly recommend that. A lot of good learning points from that on just how to be hospitable and how to go above and beyond when it comes to service and how that can extend to all businesses, all facets of life, not just kind of the hospitality business.
There you go, Parker. Hop on Amazon. Yep. Time to buy it.
Yep. Right on.
He usually does it in real time, which he must have been a little slow on the draw here, but that's okay. I love books like that, Max. I'm like big into cooking, so I love reading like the behind the scenes Kitchen Confidential, all these chef autobiographies. I just read one called Your Table is Ready, about a maitre d' in New York City. So love those books. I think they're really interesting. They teach you a lot about life. Now, hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that many other people did along their journey.
This book has some crazy reviews. I mean, it's got some really incredible reviews. I mean, you go to Amazon, you see the reviews, it's usually like, oh, okay, people just 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. But if you go to Goodreads, then you're like, okay, people are a little bit more critical. And I've read a lot of good books that I thought were good, and they got like a 3.9, a 3.8, 4.1. This is at a 4.45. So, Max.
That's
this
high
is
for Goodreads,
yeah. This is an auto buy, and that's going on the shelf. And then when I finish my other book, that's going on the bedside table. It's moving.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
Max, it's been a pleasure. This is so exciting to finally get to meet you and have you in the nation, but it wouldn't be a complete Elevation Nation podcast episode if we didn't ask you our final question, which every single elevator in the nation, every student, every graduate that we speak to, we help them develop this concept, and it's something that we call your mental motto, a phrase that you live your life by. You certainly have shared a ton of incredible stories around mindset, resilience, and mental fortitude. But Max Schauff, we want to ask you what your mental motto is.
Yeah, I think my mental motto is just be resilient and outwork the competitor. I think, obviously in our conversation over the past 40 minutes or whatever it's been, it's, a lot of no's, a lot of ups and downs that you got to push through and really be resilient. And then just simply outwork the next person. I think, in this startup journey, a lot of it can be fluff. A lot of it can be big ideas, or I went to Stanford, or whatever the case is. But are you just going to simply do the work and outwork the person next to you? And I think that's what it comes down to. And if you're resilient and you work super, super hard, good things are going to happen, and you're going to put yourself in the spot to find success and get lucky.
Killer mental motto. Really, really killer. The way you describe it, it embodies who you are, and I love it so much. And that's why Sam and I love to hear and help people develop their mental models, because it drives you every single day when shit gets hard, and when you get to that top of that whatever milestone, you're like, this grounds me and keeps you going. But Max, this is the end of the episode, and all I got to say is it is really incredible to sit here and have this conversation almost 8 years later after you guys first started, and it's making me feel some nostalgia, but also reflect on my own journey, because it is incredible to see that if you do stay in the game, you will not lose. And you guys embody that. And to Sam's point at the beginning of the podcast, I commend you and thank you for giving me that inspiration and that taste of what entrepreneurship was. You know, that helped me get my job at EY after college, talking about the Envoy Now story. And of course, to Sam's point, I don't think we would have been on the Elevation Nation journey if it wasn't for our paths crossing. So 8 years later, I just have to say thank you.
Well, it's crazy, and that obviously means a lot, but you had it then and you have it now. So I think that's pretty obvious. And again, it's been so fun just following along to you guys and what you've been up to, and how you've constantly pushed through the noise, and elevated as you've gone on. So it's been so cool. And yeah, obviously I'm super blessed that our paths crossed as well. And yeah, this has been a ton of fun talking to you guys.
All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week, peace.